I was super excited to come back for cross country after the Olympics. I was actually kind of joking with my teammates when I was in the Olympic Village and I texted them, I probably have to be the only person here who's more excited for cross country than getting to race in the Olympics in the next couple of days. Because that's just kind of how much it means to me. Like getting to race in a uniform and getting to race with your teammates. It's something I never really got to do. And I had a cross country team in high school, but it didn't really feel the same as this since we're competing at the national level and competing for conference championships. So coming back was great, and to kind of bring along my Olympic experience. I hope it brought my teammates, pride that they're in the same training system as an Olympian. Like I train with my teammates. I don't really train alone. Um, and I hope they enjoyed watching me there. As I'm sure they did, like as they told me. Um, but coming back to cross country it was a very easy transition. I was super pumped to get back out there and to race. Maybe in the beginning I was still dealing with that, post Olympics blues that they talk so much about, just because, the Olympics is such a grand experience that once it passes, you're just like, wow, like I just spent like so many years preparing for this, and now it's just all of a sudden it's gone. Um, Thankfully, I didn't have much time to really relish over that because it was right back to training, right back to campus, back to school, which is kind of, why I wanted to come to Harvard in the first place, was just have my life kind of absorbed with all these activities, and all these people. Um, and yeah, it was a good season with the team. Um, we had a lot of fun. We had great races. We really wanted to win the Hets title this year, but fell a little short. Um, Likewise, we didn't perform as well at NCAA's as we would have wanted to, but qualifying there for the fifth year in a row is pretty remarkable in and of itself. And even though we're losing me as a low stick, I really do think the team is actually going to continue to get more competitive year after year, especially with some of the recruiting classes we're bringing in and the personnel we have in the team right now. So yeah, it was a great final cross country season. I was obviously happy to finish off winning a second NCAA title. Um, but really, I'm most excited to continue to watch this team grow and perform over the years, afar as an alum.
What would you say is the best thing about Harvard other than cross country and track and field?
I mean, there's a lot of things that I like about Harvard. I love the tradition here. Uh, I love the campus. It really is kind of hard to choose my favorite thing outside of cross country, because that is my favorite thing about Harvard. Um, it would definitely though have to be just the academic, facilities we have, as in like the teaching staff, the resources we have. Um, it really is unbelievable. Um, and to be honest, I wasn't exactly academically driven coming into Harvard. I knew I wanted to get a good education, in a vague sense. I went to like a college preparatory high school, so that had really been drilled into my brain. But I'm glad I went with that, because now that I'm here, I really kind of flourished as like a student. Found a lot of interests that I didn't realize I had. Um, Gained a lot of confidence that I didn't really realize I had, and stuff that I could, do. Um, I ended up, becoming a double major in economics and philosophy. I'm writing a thesis right now. This is stuff that like I really would not have thought I would have been doing as a freshman. So like definitely like which this is kind of a boring answer, but yeah, definitely the academics here are amazing, and they've really helped me grow as a person and as a student.
But what about your plans for after graduation, both in running and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, after I graduate, I do thankfully have a job lined up, which is just professional running. Um, so I'm planning on doing that for at least the next 4 or 5 years into the Los Angeles Olympics. I'm really gonna spend basically as much energy and time as possible on trying to be the best athlete I can be come the Olympics in the US. I really want to win a medal there, as I'm sure a lot of other runners across the world want as well, which is why I need to train extra hard. So that'll really fill up most of my time the next 4 years. But outside of that, I do hope to continue doing other stuff on the side, whether it's academic related or otherwise. Um, I do think that running at Harvard, you would think is more difficult with the academic rigor. Um, it certainly is, but I do think in some sense that academics are complementary to athletic success. I found that, when I'm doing well academically or I'm interested academically, I end up doing better athletically just because my mind is kind of occupied throughout the day outside of practice, and then I can bring that extra energy to practice to get better. So, in some form, I hope to continue something to really prepare me for, post athletics, which will be the majority of my life. So, I don't want to end up being just a runner. And I'm certainly still trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to do on that side.
You likely overlapped your recruiting process overlapped with like the pandemic and the challenges that brought and um that's such a unique experience for any undergraduate at any level, but especially here at Harvard and just wanted to hear a little bit from you about did the pandemic interfere with your recruitment and transitioning from high school to college and kind of how you handled all of that.
Yeah, so the pandemic actually, this might not be the answer you're expecting, but actually helped me a lot, a lot. I was very lucky to finish my recruitment process mere months before you know, the whole shutdown happened in the US. I might have taken my visit in at Harvard in like November or October or September. And then, a few months later, everything got shut down. So thankfully, it didn't really interfere with my recruitment, just barely. And I'm lucky because, like I said, if I wasn't able to take my official visit, I would have ended up at Columbia, which I'm sure would have been a great experience. But I don't want to trade my Harvard experience for anything. Um, with the pandemic, though, um, going into my freshman year of college, Harvard did have a little bit of a like a hybrid situation where you were allowed to come on campus, but they weren't really doing classes in person. There were a lot of restrictions. There's like restrictions of dining halls and stuff. Basically, everything was kind of messed up as a precautionary measure for, the pandemic. Um, and this is something I'm thankful for about my teammates, and it's ultimately probably one of the reasons I picked this is that a couple days um, before the deadline to defer or to basically take a gap year, one of my teammates texted me, future teammates at the time, and was like, "Hey Graham, I know this is kind of last minute, but a lot of us on the team are planning on basically taking a year off and just training. Basically, that's about it. Just training throughout the year. Because if I were to go to Harvard, not only would have school been kind of weird and messed up and wouldn't have been the traditional Harvard experience, I also wouldn't have been able to compete. And not 'cause since the Ivy League wasn't in competition, some other conferences were in competition in limited fashions. The Ivy League was zero. And if I were to come to Harvard and go to school here for a year, that would be a year wasted at Harvard where I couldn't have competed with the jersey on. And that's what I really wanted to do. So we took a year off, and it was one of the most fun years I've had in my short 22-year life. We drove out to Flagstaff, Arizona, which is at altitude, and I ended up staying there basically half the year, in different fashions, in different places with different people on the team. At one point we had a house where we had 10 guys in it, all on the team. And I'm really thankful that like we had that strong team culture that I was lucky enough to inherit, where you have a group of guys who are that willing to kind of throw everything aside just for a year, just to save their eligibility, their NCAA eligibility, kind of save their Harvard experience, and we just trained at altitude for a year, and I got really good at running. I ended up running by the end of that year. I ran 13:27 in the 5K, which was a year before would have been absolutely like unimaginable. And that really set me up going into my freshman year to be competitive early at the NCAA level. And it's definitely a major factor in why I was able to win two national championships. Since I kind of already, before I was even a freshman, developed this idea that it was possible and that, maybe by the end of my time here, I should have one, if not two national championships.
So along those lines, that was a question that came in. What in your training would you kind of look at to say that's best prepared you to become a two-time champion?
I mean, I would definitely say, in high school, I didn't do a whole lot of running, like period, which I think was good for me. Very low mileage program where we did, maybe at max 40 miles a week, probably more around 30, and just mixed in some workouts and stuff. I think ultimately what college is for is beginning to kind of maximize that training, maximize that potential, and really try to see how far you can push it and how good you can get. So, and that was one of the reasons another reason I decided to come to Harvard was, Coach Gibby here is very he likes to train us hard. Like, and that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to make sure, when I went to school, by the time I was finished, that I knew I'd given everything. um, I'm certainly satisfied with what I've done here so far, and I do think I have better results coming in the future. But um, ultimately, it was just, and this is kind of a generic answer. The biggest training difference was just training harder. I started running more miles per week. I started doing harder workouts. Um, Really, in the end, that's just what it was. Big picture. I started running basically three times as much mileage as I was in high school, um, running faster on my tempo runs, and a big part of why that was possible was coming here and having the facilities, having the teammates and the support, that really make that possible.
What would you say was like the biggest change in your mindset and your training last year to this year? And was there a takeaway from your Olympic experience that kind of shaped that?
I think last year going into cross country, I was just really, really hungry to win. I just wanted to win so bad. Um, and I had an amazing summer of training going into last year's cross country season. Um, I stayed in Boston with a few of my teammates. And, going into that season, I was ravenous. Like I was hitting every workout as hard as I could. And, I started to believe that I could actually do it. I was coming off a runner-up finish in the 5K during the outdoor track season the previous year. And I really wanted to do it kind of for myself to prove, that I could win that race. Um, and it was really pedal to the metal, very emotional year. Last year was or like last cross country season. And then I got injured after it. Um, and it's probably because of that. It was an extremely emotional process to, I won every race. I set a collegiate record. It was just so exciting and such a hard thing to achieve that I think I just kind of like just like my body got tired and it needed a break. And I think honestly during that time that was more influential on my mindset than the Olympics was. It's actually what probably got me to the Olympics was just, you know, sitting on a bike. I did a lot of cross training and, having to kind of rethink everything. That, basically nothing is promised with running, certainly not in life, but also with running. And I kind of had a mindset shift from, a desire to win to gratitude. And I think I started becoming a little more grateful for my opportunities. Um, changing nerve to excitement, and to optimism. Um, and because of that, I think I was able to go into the outdoor season before to qualify for the Olympics in a scenario where that seemed, absurd to qualify for an Olympic team after coming off, a serious injury. And I think I continued that energy to bring that energy to this year's cross country season. Um, of course, everything's different after you've been to the Olympics. Everything's different after you run on a random Wednesday morning in Paris in front of 80,000 people, a full stadium. It's something that distance runners aren't really used to. and track athletes just aren't used to competing in environments where there's that many people that care that much. Um, so, coming back, everything felt smaller in a way, but my gratitude never really changed after that. I was just grateful to be with my teammates and to have all these amazing meets that people put on where we can, I'm given the opportunity to compete and to try to be my best. Um, and I think one other thing that was funny is just to talk about that mindset shift was like after I won NCAA's this year for the second time, I had a teammate come up to me. He's like, man, I was worried about you this year for the NCAA's, and I was like, why? And he was like, you just didn't seem to be taking it as seriously as last year. And I think that kind of perfectly explains how I was probably acting, at the meet. I was having fun, not taking things too seriously, and was just super grateful to get to even just have another NCAA cross country race to run because um, those meets are always a really, really good time.